served our country with honor. They gave of themselves so we can live free. They returned home and continue to serve our community. They are the men and women of South Georgia. They are the heroes among us. WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us, brought to you by Montlick & Associates.
Thanks for joining us for this special presentation, Heroes Among Us. Each month, WALB and Montlick & Associates spotlight an active duty man or woman, a veteran, or a fallen hero. Let's take a look at the heroes from this past year. Rance Pettibone Sr. got shot 3 different times in Vietnam, living to tell the tale. He spent more than 20 years in the Army. It wasn't his first plan, but he joined in the 60s to support a cousin who got drafted.
I stayed 22 years.
He went to paratrooper school, then to war.
My first deployment was to Vietnam. I got shot twice when I was an infantryman, and then I got shot once when I went back to be a supply sergeant.
He says 2 of the times weren't as serious as the other.
A sniper shot me, and it hit me right up under here. I'm bleeding like a stuck hog. My 2 armor bearers, they saved me. They saved my life.
Others weren't as lucky.
It was 226 of us that went together. But I found out later that out of all those guys that went, only 63 returned.
Pettibone went on to travel all over with the Army, planting churches while in Europe. He got out in the 80s. Now he's been the pastor at Second Bethesda Baptist Church in Albany around 20 years.
They are eager to learn. They are the best people.
He says these days it's easy to remember why he put his life on the line on the battlefield.
That's why I fought, so that you have your individual rights.
We'll introduce you to 3 more Vietnam veterans this half hour. Many times when I speak to those who served in Vietnam, they tell me they received far from a warm welcome when they returned home. We are very proud to salute you now and let you know how much your sacrifice means. Some military members say September 11th pushed them to enlist. In September, when the nation remembers the heroes killed in those attacks, a little bit of Albany will be with them.
It's such a lovely sight.
In January, this 20 by 30 foot American flag graced the flagpole in front of the American Legion Post 30 in Albany.
Such a large flag, and waving in the wind is just a reminder of our obligation to our country.
Each American Legion district planned to fly this so-called Patriot flag. The goal is for it to fly atop One World Trade Center in September to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks.
Very many members here in the American Legion and within this district has some type of personal experience attached with the 9/11 tragedy, and that day has stayed a special day to us.
The Post members, who are all veterans, held this special ceremony to take it down.
As the flag was lowering, I was sort of feeling resentful that we had to take it down. And it's just, it was a heartfelt moment.
2nd District Commander Jeremiah Pascal says he hopes the flag served as a reminder to us all of the heroes who sacrificed everything for their country.
We want to be part of that activity, that celebration that will occur this year in New York, as part of our respect for the flag and cherishing those that gave their life.
From keeping an eye out for improvised explosive devices in Afghanistan to providing a lifeline for his community in their toughest moments, Xavier Ward rises to the challenge. He also jumped into action when the January 2017 storms shocked Albany.
Just to help people. It's kind of like a calling.
Xavier Ward's interest in the medical field started when he was an Army soldier in Afghanistan.
My job was an aircraft fueler, but over there, you do kind of everything. I put security in the guard tower. I was on the medic team.
It was nothing like he expected.
You see the moves and everything, but once you get over there, it's kind of like, it's real. The IEDs, the mortar rounds, they're real.
He came home and became an EMT. In January 2017, an EF3 tornado hit Dougherty County.
My oldest daughter came in saying, I hear a train, I hear a train.
You scooped us up in 5 seconds, like literally you grabbed me out of bed, you grabbed 4 children out the bed, and you threw us in a bathtub. Like, it was literally in seconds.
A few years later, his family faced the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'm a COVID survivor. My mother, my father, both of my sisters are COVID survivors. It kind of hit home. In Afghanistan, we've seen danger when it comes. You can hear it, you can see it. But this virus, you can't see it at all.
But in the midst of these challenges, that military training kicks in.
And he was like, I'm once a soldier, always a soldier. This is what I was born to do. This is what I gotta do.
It's been more than 10 years since a combat medic from Thomasville died in Afghanistan. Shannon Chihuahua was killed while saving a fellow soldier's life.
He said he was a model for the Army.
Specialist Chihuahua deployed to Afghanistan in 2010. His wife, Kristen, gave birth to their second daughter while he was there.
He chose to leave so that he could be there for his guys in case anybody got injured or anything. He wanted to be there. It was just the type of person that he was.
He met baby Annabelle 2 weeks after she was born, then headed back to war. That November, they'd learned that meeting would be the first and last in the flesh. Kristen shares what happened with their oldest daughter, Sophia, hours before they got the news.
She goes, I'm playing with Daddy. You know, once I was told that he was killed, that made total sense to me that the first place he would go after leaving his body would be to see his daughters.
Chihuahua's Army buddies went to Thomasville last November to pay their respects to their doc who made the ultimate sacrifice.
And they told the girls that they were all that he talked about and that he was so proud of his daughters. I think it shows his personality and, you know, who he was as a person, that it meant that much to his friends to travel from all over the country to come and honor him.
David Young battles a debilitating disease after serving more than 6 years in the Navy. His wife believes it stems from his time in the military. Now the two communicate through nearly impossible circumstances.
He's in his little dress blues.
Young joined the U.S. Navy in 1981.
They covered the Mediterranean Sea.
He was an electronics technician on the USS Nashville. After his service, doctors diagnosed then 48-year-old David with ALS. The nervous system disease causes people to lose muscle control.
It is pretty much a death sentence. Life expectancy is 3 to 5 years without a ventilator.
David's condition worsened quickly. In 2010, his declining health led the couple to decide to put David on a ventilator.
We were just so devastated and desperate. He wasn't ready to leave his family.
The U.S. now recognizes ALS in veterans as service-related.
He was around lead paint on a ship. Being an electronic technician, he was always around all kind of electronic, radio waves.
Now he's 61. He can't use a majority of his muscles, and he only communicates with his eyes.
Things that have come our way has just forced us to be strong.
But their faith in God keeps them going.
Nothing happens to us without going through his hands in the first place.
Reba Munkus is 99 years old. In the middle of World War II, she became one of the first women in the Albany area to join the Navy.
How old am I? Now. Oh, 39 and pending. Pending on who I'm talking to.
Reba Munkus is actually 99, which she admitted. Almost 80 years ago, she was 21, making a decision few women made.
3,500 waves.
She joined the newly formed Navy Waves, women accepted for volunteer emergency service. The goal was to free up men for sea duty.
I was actually the first female to join the military in Albany, Georgia.
She was a parachute rigger like these women. They inspected, mended, and packed air parachutes for men going into battle during World War II. Being a military family, her loved ones saw tragedy several times during the war.
My oldest brother was killed on my mother's birthday. He went all through Germany and got killed 9 days before VE Day.
Now, 19 of her at least 74 descendants have served in the military, 11 in combat. Her 100th birthday is in November.
I superseded my own thoughts.
For this veteran, it's bittersweet to look back on her life.
You worked hard, you didn't smoke, you drank very little, and ate right.
Yeah, and I did raise a little hell sometimes.
You're watching WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us, brought to you by Montlick & Associates. We will be right back.
About 9 p.m., I was standing in the pedestrian crosswalk area of Target. And out of nowhere, I was knocked down and ran over by a police patrol car. The tire ran over my left leg. I do recall bones cracking. The pain was excruciating. I'm laying there screaming. 911 was called, and the ambulance come pick me up. I woke up in the hospital. From my waist down, I was in a cast. Both the bones below my knee were broken and shattered. They had to piece it together with plates and screws. There were talk about amputation, but fortunately I was able to heal to the point they didn't have to amputate. Had I gone through it without hiring an attorney, I think it would have been disaster. We feel very fortunate that Montlick was the one we chose. Between us and Alyssa, everything was professional, and there always seemed to be a certain amount of empathy for how I was feeling and how the family was doing. It was more like friend rather than attorney. Montlick, they were negotiating with all the different medical entities and professionals. They were right there, and I never lifted a finger, and so I'm really happy about that. That whole experience was top shelf. I was very happy with the case. Not having to worry about how things were going to get paid. Should I have to have an attorney for that purpose again, it would certainly be Montlick & Associates.
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready? I filed a decision-ready claim. Are you ready?
Veterans, are you ready for a better way to file your VA claim? Now you can get a decision within 30 days when you file a decision-ready claim. If you're ready to get your VA benefits faster, talk with your Veterans Service Organization about filing a DRC. Go to www.benefits.va.gov/DRC to learn more.
There's slow, and there's insurance companies slow. After you're hurt, never go it alone. Speak with a Montlick attorney today.
Welcome back to WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us, brought to you by Montlick & Associates.
Speaking loudly through his actions, this Vietnam veteran defended both his country and people in his community. After his passing, family members of Willie C. Marcus found out more about how he quietly gave. Willie C. Marcus became a paratrooper in the Army after graduating from high school in Mitchell County. He was a squad leader during the Vietnam War.
He had to see to that his fellow buddies were taken care of and that they were mentally and physically and emotionally ready to do battle.
His son Jason said his father didn't talk much about the war.
I was often told by my mother that he had quite a few nightmares in the early years.
Marcus went on to forward the civil rights movement in Camilla. He worked with the Mitchell County school system for several decades. In April 2020, he got sick with COVID-19.
The doctors came in and they immediately needed him to get off of the phone. And shortly after that, he was put on a ventilator.
After his death, Jason found out just how generous his father was.
I've heard people talk about the things that he did, how he went and did shopping for the elderly, how he helped people save their houses by giving monies from his pocket.
That is how people who knew and loved Willie C. Marcus will remember him.
There was not a need that he wouldn't give his last if he had to.
People often say veterans serve others before themselves. At an American Legion post in Americus, that attitude is an heirloom passed down to family, friends, and fellow veterans.
I thought about how I would feel if I wake up and not have anything.
That's former National Guard member Willie Yarborough back in 2016. He and Arthur Cooper helped found the American Legion Post 558's Christmas Joy Project nearly 40 years ago.
My father and Mr. Cooper had always had a vision of other kids waking up on Christmas Day with a Christmas toy.
Cooper passed away several years ago. Yarborough died last year with COVID-19.
This has been a pretty hard year for everybody, but we figured that we needed to come out and try to do what we can.
So around Christmas time,
bicycles, games, dolls.
Their fellow Post members decided to keep the project going in remembrance of their fellow veterans. They collected new and used toys to give to children in the Americus area for Christmas.
I just didn't want to let it go.
They hope to continue it every year.
If you could just see the smile on the kid face when they get in a bicycle or some type of toy, it really make a difference in my life. It make my Christmas go better.
You're watching WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us, brought to you by Montlick & Associates. We will be right back.
I've been swimming as long as I can remember, and it was like the biggest part of my life. I was chasing my dream to make the Olympics, and I finally felt like I was on track to make the Olympics in 2020. I'd actually just come back from a swim meet, and I'm in a crosswalk, and then it just happened. Never saw the car coming. Before I knew it, I'm on the ground. I hear people yelling. My head is spinning. I can't feel anything. My body is literally aching, and all I'm thinking is like, how could this happen to me? I'm literally on my way to be chasing my dreams, and then just the absolute worst thing happened. I was hit by a car. I will never forget the feeling of lying on your back and feeling so alone and literally asking, why me, why right now? I stretched out a ton of ligaments, dislocated my shoulder, had bone bruising. In the swimming world, taking more than 24 hours off is a lot of time. And I was thinking about how this was going to impact my professional career and all the goals I had. So I knew I needed to hire an attorney when the bills start coming in. I originally went to a different attorney. They turned me down, so that was when I turned to Montlick & Associates. I started talking to them, and they're like, what happened to you is not right. We're gonna help you. We're gonna get this figured out for you no matter what. It was incredible from beginning to end, and they went above and beyond to make me feel comforted. Everything I know that they went through for me, I would not have been able to do for myself. They made a case for me when someone else said I didn't have one. And that made me feel so much better knowing that I wasn't gonna have to worry about paying tens of thousands of dollars for just getting hit by a car. They helped me set myself up for a financial future that will overcome the loss of what happened. If someone were in an accident, I would highly recommend Montlick & Associates to them. I was extremely happy with how Montlick handled my case.
Welcome back to WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us, brought to you by Montlick & Associates.
Jimmy L. Gardner became a devil dog shortly after graduating high school in Albany. Now he shares about his tough times in Vietnam with his church members and young people to discourage them from making choices that have permanent consequences.
Yeah, once a Marine, always a Marine. Got stationed in North Carolina. From there, we left and went to Vietnam.
Gardner recalled situations many Vietnam veterans won't talk about.
We were running up on the beach. One of the guys got shot, and I helped drag him up to cover. You found, mangled bodies and stuff like that.
He stayed in the military 3 years. He was injured during a training, making the transition back into civilian life even more difficult.
They hear that you went to Vietnam, and then, of course, a lot of the jobs they wouldn't hire you on and stuff like that because they was afraid of you having post-traumatic stress, which we did.
He ended up back in Albany, reaching a major turning point when he committed his life to God.
I started seeing things working easy, and I wasn't getting upset so quickly.
He and his wife Gladys started a church. He uses his experiences to talk to people at the church about how to curb violent crime in Albany.
Once you take a life, it haunts you for the rest of your life.
A Southwest Georgia Army veteran now has a new tradition after refusing to leave his pilot behind. Nearly half a century ago, their helicopter was shot down in Vietnam.
War as hell.
Larry Jackson was drafted in the Army in the early 70s and immediately went off to fight in the Vietnam War as a door gunner.
They needed volunteers to go look for tanks, so we volunteered.
He and his pilot, Captain Joseph Harris, had to replace another helicopter which was running low on fuel.
We were headed down there to take their place when we were shot down. After the crash, I was probably 30 yards from the helicopter. I had to crawl to the helicopter. I couldn't stand up.
A different helicopter came to get them out.
Pilot I thought was unconscious. I couldn't get him out. He was trapped in the helicopter. They lowered the basket for me to get out, and I told them no, I wouldn't leave till they got Captain Harris out.
Captain Harris died in the crash. Thanks to Jackson, his body made it home. Jackson received a Silver Star for his actions.
You don't leave a fellow soldier behind. So.
Years later, Jackson found out Captain Harris was from Tallahassee.
Had he known I was from Tifton had I known he was from Tallahassee, we might have talked a lot more.
Now, every year on the anniversary of that crash, Jackson visits Captain Harris's grave to remember and honor his pilot who sacrificed his life for our country.
When you do have a chance to pay your respects, you do.
Yeah, once a Marine, always a Marine.
Once you get over there, it's kind of like, it's real.
War as hell.
It was 226 of us, but I found out later that out of all those guys that went, only 63 returned.
Things that have come our way has just forced us to be strong.
After the crash, I was probably 30 yards from the helicopter. I had to crawl to the helicopter. I couldn't stand up.
I superseded my own thoughts.
He chose to leave so that he could be there for his guys.
You don't leave a fellow soldier behind. So.
There was not a need that he wouldn't give his last if he had to.
We figured that we needed to come out and try to do what we can.
Just to help people. It's kind of like a calling.
Stay tuned. When we return, the results of WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us, brought to you by Montlick & Associates.
It was raining. My wife and I, we was on the way home, and we was at a complete stop. And this guy runs into another car that runs into us and completely smashed my back trunk all the way into the back seat. I just couldn't believe it. I sustained neck and back injury sprains, and my wife did as well, but her neck and back sprains were a little bit more severe than mine. My son and I was in a basketball league at the YMCA with some other fathers, and it wasn't something they did. It was just some fathers and sons getting together. And so I had to stop. The pressure on my back and just the running and the lifting, it was just too much. Even with my own personal workout, I have not been the same since. That was a tough moment. I've always had Montlake Associates in my head. My wife and I came in to see Alyssa. Just one of our favorite moments is us talking about our kids and our family. The fact that you could fall off topic in a very casual conversation. All of my memories, positive like that, is what I always remember. I would definitely recommend Montlake Associates. If we hadn't hired Montlake Associates, I don't think we would have had the best representation. It was very hands-on. It wasn't a throw you out to the shark and you swim your way back. And that's what made the process easier for me. Being represented by Montlake gave me and my wife this whole new aspect of, oh, this is how it's supposed to be done. My wife and I were very happy with our results and our cases and our outcomes with Montlake & Associates, my attorney, Alyssa Martin, and all the staff. We were happy, definitely.
At Montlake & Associates, the question is not, are we big enough to handle your case, but rather, are we the right firm for you? Will we treat you with dignity and respect? Fight hard to get you maximum compensation for your injuries? Will you speak to an attorney up front so you can make an informed hiring decision? At Montlake & Associates, the answer is yes, always yes. If you've been injured, call 1-800-LAW-NEED for your free consultation to discuss how we can help.
Welcome back to WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us, brought to you by Montlake & Associates.
It's time to announce our 2021 Heroes Among Us winner. Congratulations to Larry Jackson. The Vietnam veteran and Silver Star recipient vowed to never leave a fellow soldier behind.
Phone just hadn't quit ringing. People calling saying they voted for us and saying that they didn't know my story because I never talked about it much when I came home from Vietnam. They said, we never knew you as a hero until we saw you on TV.
Are you glad that you shared your story?
Yeah, I'm glad. It's been a long time coming. A lot of Vietnam veterans didn't talk when they came home. And a lot of them still aren't talking.
You did actually win.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I came under false pretenses. How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's wonderful. I never thought I would win anything like that. Kind of want to take a second honeymoon. And we'd love to fly somewhere maybe and take a second honeymoon. So.
Are you proud of him?
Oh, I've always been proud of him. He's always been my hero.
Remember, if you know any man or woman who has served our country and is continuing to make an impact on your community, you can nominate them for Heroes Among Us. It's easy. Just go to our website or WALB.com and click on the Heroes Among Us tab right at the top of the page. Fill out the form and you're done. And we'll continue to share these stories on the last Thursday of each month at 7 on WALB ABC.
WALB and Montlake & Associates would like to thank the National Infantry Museum and Soldier Center and all the men and women that served in our armed forces. You are the heroes among us.